Hi, I'm Chris Kirkpatrick, the safe bet money guy, helping you avoid the stock market casino and gamble-proof your life. So this video, I'm going to get into how the economy is rigged against you and why your current situation economically and financially isn't all necessarily your fault. And so most people know that there's this growing gap and this big divide growing between the wealthy, the 1%, and the middle class. And there's no denying that that's going on. You can flip on the tube and see anything going on. You flip on the radio, you hear it all over the place. There's no avoiding it. So the question isn't why, or the question isn't if it's happening. The question is really how it's happening, or why is it happening? And what I want to do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you in this video a lot of the things that you think to be true about money and saving and wealth creation simply aren't true. In fact, I'm going to illuminate for you that a lot of the things that you're doing and planning, and even though you're working really hard and you're striving and you're saving and you're doing all what you feel are the right things, essentially a lot of those things may be the things that are holding you back. And I think it's imperative that you understand this, because I personally worked with hundreds of people to help get them from a place of being in debt to financial freedom. I've mentored with multi-millionaires and learned firsthand from them the strategies that they use to safeguard their money and then take that money and leverage it towards wealth creation, and using those strategies to create more security, more guarantees, more opportunity, and more control in their financial lives. Because ultimately, that's what financial freedom, that's what wealth is really all about. It's not just about the money, it's about what comes with it. And it's about making sure that when you make that money, that you keep it, right? And that's what I want to show you, and that's what I'm going to teach you right now. So there are things that are holding you back in this world, and most people learn these myths and are taught these myths from a very young age, even if it's subconsciously. Our parents teach us, our uncles, our grandparents, like a lot of that stuff. And the challenge is that as we're going through life, there's never been a period of time in the history of the world where the last 25 years has been like the next 25 years. So while it may or may not have worked for your parents or your grandparents, I promise you it's not going to work for you, because the next 25 years, you're going to have to implement a completely different strategy. And what I want to do, what I'm going to do right now, is I'm going to show you some of the myths. We're going to talk about some of the myths. And then next video, we're going to talk about some of the things you could do about it. So myth number one is that the higher the risk you take, the greater your return is going to be. And a lot of people think that, the more risk you take, the greater your return is going to be, meaning you can go buy more stocks or growth stocks or penny stocks, and you can hit home runs out of the ballpark. And it's unbelievable how people think that equation kind of works itself out. And the reality is that, yeah, you can take more risk, but John Bogle said it best, because he said, and John Bogle, if you don't know who he is, he's the founder of Vanguard. And John Bogle said it best. He said, we live in an environment right now where the financial industries hit a point where money managers and financial advisors take on 0% of the risk, yet take home 80% of the profits. Now that sounds like an extreme statement, but if you boil it down over a 20 or 30-year period, it's 100% accurate. And why? Because the market isn't linear. And what I mean by linear is, it doesn't just slowly go up in one direction. It's all over the place. It's volatile. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster ride of an economy. Everybody, I think, can relate to that. And so when you take in the downs of the economy, when the economy tanks, when it corrects, when it goes sideways or negative, you lose your money, right? The financial advisor, the money manager, doesn't. They still get paid on what you have left. You're the one taking the hit. So why would you put your money in a system where you take all the risk and your money manager is making 80% of the profits over the long period of time? I don't think you would if you understood what was going on. So that's myth number one. Myth number two is that you can expect an average rate of return with your investments of 8%. Now the question is, once again, I'm going to go back to the why. Why is it that you can expect 8%? Well, most advisors, I should say that you can expect an 8% rate of return because the S&P 500, which is the oldest, largest, most successful, stable stock market in the entire world, has been averaging 8.31% since 1925. Now, that sounds all good, right? But the reality is that, do you care what something averages, or do you care what you actually earn, right? And what most people have been buying into is the fact that, well, if my account averages 8%, I'm going to have an 8% return. Well, your account can average 8%, but you can actually get a 6% return. So let's talk about how. Simple math equation. You have $1,000. The market goes down 50%. How much money do you have? You have $500, right? It goes down 50%. So that's year one. Year two, we have an unprecedented comeback, and the market goes back up 100%. Your $500 is now worth how much? It went back up 100%, so it's back to 1,000. The question at this point in time is, what's your average rate of return? Well, you started with 1,000, you're back to 1,000 at the end of year two. So most people say, well, my average rate of return is 0, when in fact your average rate of return was 25. Your real rate of return is 0, which is what you care about, which is what impacts your ability to create wealth, your ability to raise the value of your accounts, and then take that money and leverage it. So the average, though, is you had a plus 100 year, right, 100% comeback, and you had a negative 50 year. 100 minus 50 is 50, divided by 2 years is 25. That's a 25% average rate of return. And it's actually illegal in the financial advisory world to go up to your clients and say, hey, listen, I know the stock market's been up, it's been down, it's been all around, but the reality is my clients have been averaging a 25% rate of return. I could say that to you legally. It wouldn't be ethical, it wouldn't be moral, but it would be legal. And that's a big challenge. And so what people don't realize is that, and you may not realize this, is that if you're expecting an 8% rate of return and you get a 6% rate of return, that doesn't seem like a big number, but it's everything. It could be the difference of you having, if you're saving a good amount of money, $1 million at your retirement account versus $150,000 at your retirement account. And all by putting your money in the same place. And that's why I'm a big believer that we don't have a savings problem in this country. We have an expectation problem. People are saving based on unrealistic, false expectations. They're giving up control of their money and losing it unnecessarily. And this is a big reason why, is people don't understand that 8% is just not a realistic number. And you should never shoot for that number. And to reiterate the point that I'm trying to show you here, I wanted to show you this graph on why the average rate of return is clearly not in your best interest to base your retirement planning goals on. And you can see here, this is just an example of $1,000 invested in 1925, going back and using the S&P 500 index that we've been talking about. And if you used the average rate of return, which is 8.36%, as your assumption from the S&P 500 as to what your account would produce for results for you, which is what most people in this world are doing, you can see here that you'd end up with over $1.25 million. However, what reality looks like, what it really is producing, you can see is actually $235,000 in the blue. And that's not including fees, that's not including anything else going along with that. So in reality, it gets worse, because when you add in managed money fees of the mutual fund expenses, the fees that you pay your advisor to help you manage your funds, after all is said and done, you end up with $64,000. Now, you can see that right there, if you're going into your retirement planning objectives, assuming that based on that 8.36% rate of return in this model, you're going to have $1.25 million, but you end up with $64,000, it's no wonder that 92% of Americans today are not able to maintain their standard of living when they retire. Myth number 3 is that mutual funds are a smart investment. And here's my challenge to that, is that you're never going to achieve 5% results by implementing 95% thinking. And so my comment to you on that, or my statement that I really want you to resonate with, and I really want you to take this in, is that where in life are you ever going to achieve 5% results by implementing 95% thinking? And I tell you, I've interviewed the most successful people in this country, and I'm telling you right now, not one of them has made their money in mutual funds. Not one of them has become a millionaire by putting their money in mutual funds. So if your goal is to be financially free, if your goal is to be a millionaire, And maybe that's not your only goal. I'm not saying money should be your only goal, and absolutely not. But money is a tool. Money will allow you to create the life that you want. Money is what's going to allow you to make the drastic impact in the world. And if you're here, if you're watching this, I know that you have bigger plans for your life. And so if you want to accomplish those plans, you got to get out of the mindset that mutual funds are the way to go. I don't care what your advisor is telling you. And so that's a big thing to think about. So the question is, where do you put your money? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the next video. But the bottom line is that mutual funds are not the way to go, because not one successful person in the world uses that as a wealth accumulation vehicle for themselves. So myth number 4 is that the younger you are, the more risk you can take. And honestly, I put this number 4, but quite frankly, this could be number 1, and it's the most talked about, it's the most misunderstood. And yeah, the younger you are, the more risk you can take, the more risk you can sustain, because the bottom line is, I'd rather lose a lot of money when I'm 25 or 35 than when I'm 65, right? So because I do have more time. So from that capacity, I can afford to lose money. However, let's not think of that mindset. Let's not think about losing money. Let's think about, how can we most effectively and efficiently create the life that we love, create the life of our dreams? How do we position ourselves? How can you go out and structure your finances to make sure that everything you want to happen can happen when you want it to happen, right? On a guaranteed basis, on a predictable basis. The only variable in this equation can be you. How cool would that be? And so the thing is that, once again, we have to come back. We have to tap into the mindset of the most successful people in the world, and we have to say, what are they doing? What, right? If you want 5% results, you need to implement 5% thinking. And so what are they doing? You have to safeguard your money, and I'll teach you this later, but you have to safeguard your money, keep it completely locked down, and don't ride the market ups and downs and all that stuff. You have to time the market, in a sense, not time the market like everybody thinks, like get in, get out, get in, get out, get in, get out, because if you do that, you're going to get burned. But time the market in a sense, keep your money safe until you have the ability to invest in something that you uniquely understand, that you are comfortable with, that you are actively engaged with. Not putting money in a mutual fund that you put it there, you let it sit, and it just kind of goes into the abyss, and you don't know what the fees are, you don't understand the fees, you don't know what the stock market's doing, you don't know any of that stuff. So keep your money safeguarded. Don't take more risk when you're young. In fact, the younger you are, if you could be disciplined, if you can be hardworking, if you could just grind it out, you can actually strive your way to greatness. And I'm telling you, you can make this happen. You just got to implement simple systems with predictable results that can get you to the mountaintop. The 5th myth, the final myth, and it's kind of 2 wrapped into 1 here, is that you should buy and hold and you should diversify. And those go together, because what happens, and I'm telling you, you've never met a financial advisor alive before. I'm probably the first person in the financial industry, financial coach, that's ever told you you shouldn't diversify, right? And you shouldn't buy and hold. Because, once again, I'm going to go back to my John Bogle comment from Vanguard, right? He's the founder of Vanguard. If you buy and hold, you're going to be just transferring a lot of your wealth in fees to your money manager. That's just going to happen. It's unavoidable, 100% unavoidable. And so diversification, once again, you're never going to find an extremely successful person in this world who became wealthy by diversifying. If you want to be successful, get really good at something. Have a strategy, have a plan. Keep your money safe, save up, make that plan, and then once you figure that out, go all in. I'm not saying risk everything you have, but be strategic. You don't get exceptional results in life. You don't achieve exceptional results in life without taking some risk. So that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you should never invest in anything you don't understand, first of all. So I'm going to ask you right now, how much do you understand about mutual funds? How much do you understand about price ratios of stocks? How much do you understand about the fees inside the mutual funds? If you don't get that, you shouldn't have a dime there, period. And so, sorry, I'm going to get off my high horse now. And I'm just going to say, because I don't want to tell you what you shouldn't do, because I want to tell you what you should do. So what do you do now? I'm going to show you in the next video some implementable strategies that you can just take and put into your life and will make direct impact, immediate changes that'll give you more security, more guarantees, more opportunity, more control in your life. You can start taking the strategies that I'm going to teach you, put them into your life, and start taking steps towards implementing the principles that the top most successful people in this world use. It's so easy. It's not easy, it's simple, right? Nothing in this world worth doing is easy. People don't become extremely successful by taking the easy road. So at this point in time, here's the deal. You've hit a fork in the road. You can keep down the path that you're going and keep getting the same results, but the reality is what got you here isn't going to get you where you want to go. And if you want to achieve 5% results, you need to look at your thinking. And that's what the next video is going to get into. I hope you're ready.